You are now watching Music the Lifeblood's Conversations from the Pit.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have tuned yourself into another episode of Music the Lifeblood's Conversations from the Pit. I am your very humble host, Dustin. Join with me, as always, Music the Lifeblood's own man in the field, John Carter. Carter, how are things?
Things are pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah. We're fiddling with Skype as per usual. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe one of these days we'll move over to Zoom. Okay, Carter.
Mm-hmm.
2020 is over. So you and I talked about we wanted to do like a top 3 best of for each of us for 2020, because I don't think we've ever done anything like this before, have we?
No, I can't say we have. No,
we just kind of hit record and go. So this will be a little interesting. So I'll remind everybody, if you just listen to Conversations from the Pit, if you're listening to like the SoundCloud feed or Apple Podcasts or iTunes or whatever, Google Podcasts, I don't know, whatever we're on. Keep in mind when it comes to Conversations from the Pit, it's a video. So I drop in quite a bit of graphics when it comes to these Conversations from the Pit episodes. So I would encourage everybody, you might want to check out the YouTube or the Facebook video or the video on Tumblr, whatever the case is. So just food for thought so you can see all the goodies. All right. And then beyond that, just a quick little plug as far as merch goes. There's a ton of new merch in the MTLB-ULTRA-MEGA-STORE. That's going to be at tchip.com. I think it's /MTLB-ULTRA-MEGA-STORE. I think that's the actual URL for it. But if you just search it, Bing it, Google it, whatever you do, you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. Lots of cheap shirts designed by our own Carter. And then a little bit in there as far as Music of the Lifeblood's own roving reporter, my older brother, Derek. Derek does some graphics too. So, but tons and tons of new merch. And then last thing, just want to remind everybody about the MTLB Ultra Mega Value Exchange. If you want to be a part of the MTLB Ultra Mega Militia, there's a lot of tongue twisters. I regret calling everything MTLB Ultra Mega whatever. If you want to be a part of the MTLB Ultra Mega Militia, all you have to do is share our content on whatever bullshit social media platform you're on, or buy merch from the T-Chip store, or what's the other one? Oh, the Patreon. If you want to do sort of a reoccurring thing, you can sign up on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Music the Lifeblood. All right, I'm done with the plugs. So let's get going. All right, Carter, do you want to go first? Are you going from the bottom up?
I'm not really going in any order. I just basically I kind of thought about what we talked about, and I'm gonna sort of kind of like make it like the 3 that the releases that stood out to me this year. You know what I mean? The kind of like, you know. So I'm gonna start off first with I know that everybody kind of has a different mentality of what black metal is, or grind, or no, like noise music or whatever. But like one of my favorite bands that I've gotten into over the course of the past like maybe 4 years is Revenge. Canadian black metal band, run by Jay Reed, who was in Conquer, and they kind of had like a, you know, over the years since about 2000, I believe, they've had a collection of different people come through. They're they're affiliated with bands like Blasphemy from Canada, who are just legendary black metal band. The whole Ross Bay Cult thing. The thing I really like about this album is some people will probably say that I got to turn in my cult, my KVLT card for saying this, but this album has some fucking groove and some riffs on it. It's not just like the sound of a black metal band falling downstairs, which is great, which is what I fucking love about Revenge. But I mean, there's some riffs on this fucking thing, and it's good. One thing I really love about Revenge is they keep it true. They just TRVE. They keep it true.
Stop.
You know, white on black, black on white. You know what I mean? It's just it's should and like to me, in a lot of ways, they were like they're kind of like the black flag of black metal, because they just sort of like they defied all, you know, just all trends and just kind of just did what the fuck they want. And they're one of my favorites. And I mean, and it's an acquired taste for some people, because to me, they're probably one of the most extreme bands to ever be out there. And like their music, their lyrics are just about just destroying everything. And just, you know, it's not like a live, laugh, love, you know, crocheted on a pillow kind of message. It's more or less kind of like you are in control of your own world, kick fucking ass, destroy everything. And the music sounds like you're going to fucking war. It sounds like the apocalypse. I fucking love it. So
there's so right there already, it's worth mentioning because of your noticeable tilt towards hardcore.
Yeah, no, I mean, for real.
So right there alone is I can, just from the way you described it, I can understand why it hit your button, you know?
Yeah. Well, and what's really great too is bands like Nails. They give a nod to Revenge for a big influence. You know, and then there's other kind of stuff that's kind of like it's on the grind side of things. And what's crazy about it is just you know, growing up in the United States, obviously, the whole time, like in the 90s, there was this amazing thrash, black, and death metal scene going on in Canada. You know, Calgary, notably here with these guys. And just kind of like over the past few years, just kind of delving back into it. And like I said, it's an acquired taste because a lot of it's really raw, recorded and stuff, you know. And it kind of like on that movie that they did about Mayhem recently. What the hell is that called again? The guy from Bathory produced the
Lords of Chaos.
Yeah, Lords of Chaos. There's footage of them or scenes where they're wearing Blasphemy shirts, and I didn't really know. I mean, I don't know how much Blasphemy and the whole Ross Bay Cult and that whole early 90s Canadian scene influenced, you know, Sweden, Norway, and all that or whatever.
Sure.
But it's really cool. I love going down a rabbit hole of stuff that I missed, you know, or like, oh shit, I was there the whole time. And that's what I love about Revenge.
Sure.
They've got a bunch of albums out, you know, some splits with bands like Black Witchery and other, like, which is also another band that's they're from Florida, but they're kind of connected with that whole thing. But it's just extreme fucking just, you know, destruction in, you know, through black metal. I fucking love it. There's no beautiful keyboard swells. There's no, you know, epic, you know, whatever. It's just, it's fucking noise, and I love it. So
I'm not familiar with them. Like, I know the name, but I don't. Is it like legit black metal vocals?
Well, it's okay. What I would actually say is it kind of reminds me of more kind of a crust grind type vocal approach.
Okay.
And people, like, if you're familiar with like the early Napalm Death, like Scum, and I think in Enslavement to Obliteration, the two albums before Barney joined, it rings similar to that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Just it's got a grindcore bent to it, but like they call themselves black metal, and we like we discussed before, black metal, the definition and what it's about and what it sounds like and what it's supposed to look like varies all around the world.
Sure.
You know, so the whole you know, they used to hang out at this place called the Ross Bay Cemetery, which was in Canada, in Calgary or whatever, where they're from. And a lot of these fucking, like, these death metal guys and black metal guys would hang out, and they call it the Ross Bay Cult. And so the bands that, you know, that are from that area, you know, of Calgary, the Ross Bay Cult bands, and like you can go online and, you know, just look it up, and there's Ryan Forster, the guitar player for Blasphemy. He was one of the guys that really kind of like spearheaded a lot of that, and so it's just real interesting, to see, just kind of like how other people will interpret it, and the fact that they're still doing their thing, into 2020, is awesome. So there's that.
Is that on a specific label?
Yeah, actually, this one is. Let me double check this real quick. I don't want to misquote. This is on Season of Mist.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, they reissued this and their album The Whole Total Rejection from 2005 on vinyl, various gatefolds and colors and whatnot.
Sure.
And then they repressed like the majority of their back catalog on CD, and it's great stuff. I mean, it doesn't sound like Gorgoroth, does not sound like Watain, certainly doesn't sound like Dimmu Borgir. It's more akin to early Napalm Death. And
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
like early Napalm Death and like pre-Heartwork Carcass, but like just like I tell people, I said it sounds like you turned on a faucet and black metal came out. It's just like it's I can't say staticky, but it's just so it's such a cacophony. I mean, I love it. It's not to sound like a total fucking douchebag meathead, but I on deadlift day at the gym, I always listen to fucking Revenge because it's just like it just sounds like deadlifting fucking 400 pounds. It's fucking awesome.
The way you describe it, it sounds like in my head I'm picturing like Pentagram, Antichrist era Gorgoroth mixed with Nails.
Yeah, like fucking real close. But
yeah.
the great thing about it is the recording production is real primitive. It would drive Jake fucking bananas. Jake would lose his fucking mind. Yeah, it literally sounds like somebody just dropped a mic on a wooden floor in the middle of the room and they went off. But it is mixed well, and it's just kind of like the great thing about like Jay Reed, the drummer, comes in and does his parts. I believe it's Jay Reed that does it, and it literally sounds like fucking not pig squeals, not like deathcore pig squeals. But he sounds like a fucking like a fucking snorting boar. And it's like nothing I've ever fucking heard. And they're just so goddamn brutal. And it's just kind of like, but I highly recommend Revenge. And I mean, like I said, they're one of those bands been around for a long time, since the early 2000s, and the band Conqueror put out some EPs and a discography that has all their stuff from like the 90s. Revenge is essentially just a continuation of Conqueror. They're the same band, more or less, but with some. So if you find I believe Infinite Majesty is the name of a Conqueror discography. I've got that too. It's a double vinyl. It's fucking like 30 songs. It's to me, it's grindcore to me. Honestly, it's grindcore, but they consider it black metal, and so I call it black metal for that.
Right on. My first pick, it wouldn't be Music of Lifeblood if it wasn't Cancer Slug.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 albums from Cancer Slug this year. You got the Courtesy Flush. I think that was in August. And then Moonlight Martyrs, which I think was in December. So Alex and the girls have absolutely been hustling this entire year.
Yeah.
Now, I did a review of the Courtesy Flush on vinyl Thursday. It hasn't been released on vinyl yet, so just heads up, because I know the Slug Cult, the Cancer Slug fans, are all about hunting stuff down on vinyl. But it's just CDs so far, but there were 2 variant covers from it. I'll put them up so you guys can see what they look like. They were busy this year, man. I think it's one of those sort of side effects of the shutdown from COVID. I think a lot of our favorite bands had opportunities to write music, which, I mean, that's awesome. It sucks that none of them could go out and tour and make money and play shows, but at the same time, hopefully they got some good songs out of it and they were able to write and record. But for me, I think it's worth mentioning, and I mentioned this in the Vinyl Thursday episode too, that something to think about with the Courtesy Flush is that this is the first full-blown studio effort after longtime drummer Mike Horgan had passed away.
Yeah.
So this was the first album with Jade. Her name is Jade Jones. She's drumming for Cancer Slug now, and Jade is a different kind of drummer than what Mike was. I always thought that Mike's left hand was always busy. He did a lot of ghost notes and sort of like rolls off of the snare drum, that he had a kind of swing to the way that he played. And I think you're never going to be able to duplicate what Mike did ever. You know, not only are we talking about his musical contribution, but him and Alex were attached at the hip. They were best friends. And to have such a huge player in the Cancer Slug, storyline gone, the one thing that I liked was that what Jade played on the album, it didn't sound like Mike. And I was glad, because I was glad that Jade or Alex or whoever, I don't know, no one felt like they had to try and duplicate what Mike did. It was time to move on to something else. But at the same time too, the great thing about the album is that Mike's song, Alex wrote a song about Mike, and it's a tearjerker for sure, especially when you're in the Slug cult, because, like I said, we're talking about two best friends.
Yeah.
And I think that album is to me, as far as being like a Cancer Slug Uber fan, I think it's such a good sort of wave goodbye to Mike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we get, because I think the Unnameable, I think that was Mike's first recorded appearance with Cancer Slug. I might be wrong, because the catalog is hard to suss out because there's just so much stuff, but I think that was Mike's first appearance. I'm hoping maybe we'll get that on vinyl at some point, sometime soon. So just kind of fingers crossed in that regard. But like I said, it was a great way for, the Slug call to be able to kind of, wave by to Mike. But, and then at the same time, it's a new chapter. Jade's a different drummer. Alex is, Alex's writing is developing more. To me, I think we're in the middle of Alex sort of having another creative boom. Some artists, they hit something that they really like, and then they try that for a while, and then might be another period of growth where they try something different. I think we're in a period of growth with Alex right now. And the neat thing is we have two full albums that documented this sort of change in the way that Alex was writing.
Yeah. Do you think that, I don't feel that either albums were rushed by any means, but do you think that, like, by getting them both out was a really good way of him saying, "Hey, check it out. This is what we sound like now. This is who we are now."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think Moonlight Martyrs is, to me, it's not as pummeling as what like something like Symphony of Savagery, or even like Tales of a Butcher, obviously.
It reminded me more of Tales of the Butcher. Sorry, like in the songwriting. It had more of a Tales of the Butcher vibe, songwriting wise. Sure. The production on Tales,
that whole album is such a departure from the rest of the catalog as far as Cancer Slug goes, because it's a full on metal album. That's what it is. But it's Moonlight Martyrs isn't as pummeling as what the Courtesy Flush is, but I don't know that I would want it to be. I think the neat thing about these two batches of songs is that they're good. They're complementary.
Yeah, they could make actually a really good kind of like their own Use Your Illusion. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what I thought of when they came
Yeah.
out kind of back to back like that,
Yep.
sort of.
Yep. Yeah, that's that's an interesting comparison. But it works though. You know what I mean? It does work. You know, it's funny because I always think of Get in the Rain because I think it's on Use Your Illusion 2. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's that's kind of funny, but yeah, that's a good comparison.
Cool, man.
But awesome. As far as, you know, just as far as other sort of noteworthy stuff on there, I mentioned it in the Vinyl Thursday episode too, but Cassie's backup vocals are, they're like, to me, with Cancer Slug as it exists now, Cassie's backup vocals are as important to Cancer Slug as Michael Anthony's backup vocals were to Van Halen. You know, the Cassie's sort of more airy, bubbly voice.
Yeah.
Juxtaposed with Alex growling or crooning is just such a neat, it's just a neat contrast between the two. So, you know, we started hearing Cassie's vocals prominently on seasons of Sickness, and then she's all over Sassy for Satan. And
I was going to say Sassy for Satan for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm hoping that's part of the regular formula going forward. But you know,
awesome.
Yeah, who knows? But my favorite song on there is probably, I like The Flush. I like Time Has Come, but I think The Black Death is probably. Right now, that's probably my favorite song on there.
There's a song on. I really liked Courtesy Flush when it came out because to me, I felt that it was kind of a good companion piece to Fuck the Bullshit, that album.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because it was like there was a consistent vibe between the two. Because for some weird reason, not really for a weird reason, just kind of how it hits me. Like Fuck the Bullshit and Courtesy Flush are currently my two favorite albums of them right now, and. The thing of it is, man, like Moonlight Martyrs, people didn't really shit on it. People were just kind of more or less kind of like asking why, a lot of why is this, you know, whatever. And because if you hold it up to Courtesy Flush back to back, I think the only thing I don't like about Moonlight Martyrs is the song sequencing. That's it. I think they should rearrange some of the songs. There's some songs that are back to back that I think should have been kind of spaced out, but I still think that all the songs are good, and I think that like it's got more of a Tales of the Butcher vibe, but with like the production and like the sound of like Courtesy Flush, you know, like the darker stuff, you know.
Both albums. I think Cassie's. I think Cassie plays through Ampeg. I think. It's been a long time since I've stood in front of her rig. It's been a while, but. Cassie, the both mixes are dense. They're thick.
Yeah.
They're and I think I think for Moonlight Martyrs, it's more noticeable because there's a little bit less of the aggro thing happening on Moonlight Martyrs than compared to Courtesy Flush. But I mean, Moonlight, it's a Cancer Slug album, so there's some pissed off shit in there. But just when you pair them next to each other, I think. I sometimes wonder if I heard some of the chatter too, like you mentioned, that the why was the thing that you heard. I think Alex will always be the first one to say, if you don't like it, that's fine.
Wait 2 weeks and another album's coming out.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Alex's his thing is just that he wants to write his songs. If you like them, you do. If you don't, you don't. So I think I think for a lot of the people that might have had mixed reaction to Moonlight Martyrs, I think give it time, because I think it's potentially the same thing with maybe something like, Curse Arcanum, that era of the band. You know, I've heard a little bit of chatter in the past that, they like Curse Arcanum, but I've heard a few people say they didn't like it when it first came out. So I think Moonlight Martyrs is give it some time, let it stew and ruminate for a little while. And you might, when you come back to it, it might hit you a little bit differently. So,
well, yeah, the last thing I'll say about that is one thing that I love about them is it's funny because you can either say it's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. You can go, oh, they've got so many albums out. Or, oh, they've got so many albums out. You know what I mean? And like with me, I'm kind of like, oh shit, I haven't heard that yet. Hey, Dustin, what's this? Is this a compilation or is this a full length or whatever? And like with you saying, kind of coming back to it, there's like stuff like the one that's got Generation Behind on it, the girl in the bathtub. Yeah. Season. Okay. I come back to that and was it Pussy Whipped or whatever?
Pussy Talk.
Pussy Talk. I'm sorry. I was listening to SOD earlier today. Yeah. But yeah, those two albums right there, they, not that they're bad, but I forget they exist sometimes. Right. And when I come back, I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? And it's fun. That's why I like it. That's the final thing I wanted to say about that. But
yeah, it's neat. It's neat when a band is new to you. All right, what's your next one?
Okay, an album that I've actually been anticipating for a while. There's this band out of Pittsburgh called The Cheats. They're basically a straight ahead punk and roll band. You know what I mean? Yep. I love it. It's like they're part Electric Frankenstein, part Ramones. Just kind of like a Swinging Utters kind of vibe to them. Sure. They could have very easily been like on Fat Records or Epitaph, like in the mid '90s or whatever. But one thing I love about them is they've got like that sleaze rock vibe, no matter what kind of punk rock. And they finally put out their new full length, Cussing, Crying, and Carrying On, and they have a new lineup. And I fucking love this record. I've been waiting for it to come up for a while because I met online met anyway, Todd from The Cheats on Facebook because I was kind of like I was a fan of their past catalog, and he's also he's a president of a couple Turbo Yugans, like Turbo Yugan, Steel City, and Rockers FTW, right? So we share a love of.
Is this one of the dudes from Savage Master?
No, that's I think you might be thinking of Mark Neal from Hookers.
Yes.
Yes.
Thinking of. Never mind.
He's fucking awesome too. But very similar kind of guy. But dude, I mean, like they're great. And we have we share a love for Turbo Negro and stuff. And they've got a new lineup. Just all new guys. And this guy right here, Devin Holiday, he was in this great band out of Atlanta called the Damned Angels. I think they shared members with this Asheville band. The name escapes me. Anyway, just really, I mean, look at it. I mean, they're just like awesome fucking sleaze rock dudes, punk rock, great, fucking just super good, catchy fucking punk rock. And there's nods to like, there's nods to Helicopters on their stuff and Backyard Babies, and and it's just it's cool, man, because like I get so bored with poppy, upbeat, anthemic punk rock, but when you throw kind of like a New York Dolls, early Motley Crue kind of Kiss kind of vibe into it, it makes it more fun. It's not like cookie cutter paint by numbers punk rock. They're their own type of like rock and roll punk. And I've been waiting for that record to come out for a while. And it came out like I want to say back in like November. And it's great. It's just really fun. You know, obviously you and I aren't drinkers, but if you're at a fucking punk rock party where everybody's drinking and having a good time, you know, it's just it kind of sounds like one of those really good mid 90s, you know, punk rock and roll albums. It's, you know, but with definitely a, you know, a more of a, you know, leaning towards Ramones and Buzzcocks on the poppier side of things, kind of like bands like The Crowd, you know, and whatnot. But I mean, yeah, it's my favorite punk album to come out this year. So.
I'm picturing the Chelsea Smiles.
Dead on, fucking 100%. A little bit, but with a little bit more of a not Dropkick Murphys, but more of a Street Dogs kind of a vibe to it.
That's not really, is that Spike's other band?
I believe so. You know, like it's got a street punk sound to it, definitely, but not like an overt oi street punk sound mixed with like sleazy rock and roll. It's fucking great. I love it.
All right, so next one for me, I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna see this one coming, given the interview I did a couple months ago. So, Rebirth by Blasphemy by Midnight.
Awesome. You know, the only reason why that's not in my list is because I didn't purchase it on vinyl yet. Like an asshole.
Not yet?
No, I listened to it all the fucking time. I just haven't gotten around to fucking buying it, and I was just like, so it definitely would have been in there for me.
Dude, it's good. When I interviewed Athanar, well, it was one of the funniest interviews I'd ever done. We were making fun of Def Leppard by the end of the episode, and Athanar had said that, you know, they came through Cleveland a while back, and I said, oh man, I gotta go. I love High and Dry. And then you show up to the show and you get what you get with Def Leppard. And Athanar specifically said, like, oh man, I've been duped again. You know, like it happens regularly with Def Leppard. So, but the record, you know, I mean, we all know, if you're familiar or if you're not familiar with Midnight, as far as recorded Midnight or studio Midnight, Athanar is doing everything. And the live band wise, you know, he's got Vanek, Paul Vanek from Vanek playing guitar for him live, and Paul is such a good fit for Midnight live. And then SS has been drumming for him forever. You know, and some of those guys, they've, I don't know if, all right, Athanar's played in some other bands, but I'm not gonna, because he goes by a stage name, I think, for a reason, so I'm not gonna out him as far as like other bands and stuff. But like that scene of music, there's some overlap as far as who's playing in what bands and who's helping each other out, that sort of thing, which to me, the sort of black and roll, black and thrash scene, it's always a fun scene of music. It's a fun genre, but I think the scene is just equally as fun, because a lot of those people, they're like, we're having a good time. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of people that really truly appreciate, true to the term, heavy metal. Rebirth by Blasphemy was, I think, for me, No Mercy for Mayhem is always going to be my perfect midnight album. Just because of, I mean, that's not to say that Satanic Royalty isn't totally amazing, or the comp with all the early 7 inches. I can't remember what that's called, but it's the gray cover with the black Midnight logo on the front of it.
Yeah.
But for me, No Mercy for Mayhem was where I got into the band. That's my entry point. So like Evil Like a Knife, No Mercy for Mayhem, obviously, like just those songs. Those are amazing songs. But I like Rebirth by Blasphemy because Athanar tried some new stuff. Specifically, Rising Scum, I think, was a song that struck me because when I interviewed Athanar, I asked him, "Is that you just channeling your Take on the World Judas Priest?" And Athanar said, "Exactly, that is what it is." So I was, it was nice because I'm such a big Priest fan. So it was fun to see Athanar, nod to Priest. Because I mean, it's such a different band, but I mean, he loves Judas Priest, you know what I mean? So, but the whole album, it specifically production wise, the guitar tone that he got on that album, the rhythm tone, and even the leads just, whew.
Yeah, it's a really good sounding record. And obviously people are going to be afraid that because it's on Metal Blade that it's going to be overproduced. And that's the cool thing about Metal Blade is they don't fuck with bands like like how they want stuff to sound.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
sure,
and
sure.
Which is great because I mean there's a good handful. In fact, one of the things I'm going to talk to you about today is a Metal Blade release or whatever that stays true to form what the band sounds like. And I think Metal Blade is a really good home for that band.
Oh, for sure, I would agree. I thought, I mean, the roster on Prosthetic and Relapse especially is really, really great right now. But the neat thing about Metal Blade is that that's Slagle's label, right? That's Brian.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Slagle, you're right. They let bands be bands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just know how to do things right. I think those first couple Metal Massacres are some of the most important releases in metal history.
Yeah.
Metal Massacre, I think Slayer's first national appearance was on one of those. And just it's an important label, not only for the genesis of heavy metal, but for the growth of heavy metal, in my opinion.
Well, they defined it to a lot of people. What they put out was like the limit, or was like, what's metal sound like? Hey, is what Metal Blade does.
Yeah. I should, when I interviewed Athanar, I forgot to ask him about like what's his relationship going forward with Hell's Headbangers, because to me, Shadow Kingdom and Hell's Headbangers are the primo underground metal labels. They just know how to do stuff. They as far as like respecting the medium of vinyl.
Yeah.
Especially as it relates to metal, all genres of metal. They are consistently jaw-droppingly cutting edge and meticulous and thorough with the way that they release product.
Well, it was kind of, I was trying to do a top 5 or whatever, but like, okay, this is the thing. One of my favorite things to come out in 2020 is an EP. So I wanted to keep it full length. That really caught my attention. So
this was your honorable mention, right?
Well, okay, let me go ahead and do my quick honorable mention, and then I'll do my third one. I'll just make it real quick because it's an EP, right? But I can't not mention Mutual Assured Destruction Fever Dream. Sweet. This fucking shit is so good, dude. Like, what's crazy about it is Ace Stallings, the vocalist, he sang for a really important kind of like posy straight edge hardcore 90s sounding band called Breakaway. And they did like a couple really great albums. He is such a driving force in the Richmond, Virginia hardcore scene. And he's got a great podcast called Form of Passion, where he interviews people of different, hardcore adjacent genres, people that had an impact, or people that are involved with punk rock and hardcore, and like some crossover stuff. But anyway, this stuff sounds like River Runs Red era Life of Agony meets Danzig meets Corrosion Conformity. And I did not expect it. They got a 7-inch that came out before it with 3 songs on it. Fucking awesome. These guys, they sound a little bit kind of like Crowbar too. They've got a full length coming out on Triple B Records in 2021. Fucking great. I mean, and the only reason why they're my honorable mention is because it's an EP. I mean, there's only 6 songs on it, and it came out on Edgewood Records, which is a really great label out of Richmond, which has Down to Nothing, Dead Heat, and a lot of really great fucking like hardcore and crossover thrash bands. But my solid third that blew me the fuck away was a Metal Blade band called Lik, L-I-K, which I believe
I was wondering if you were gonna pick that.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! I love this record so much. And as you know, Dustin, you can attest my fascination with anything with a fucking dimed out HM2 pedal for fucking full on chainsaw distortion. I love Dismember, Entombed, Grave. These guys, from the second you turn it on, it sounds like they've got fucking like 5 HM2 pedals going through fucking Marshall stacks. It is fucking brutal. And it's cool because there's like a lot of fast kind of D-beat, like fucking blackened thrash on it. And it's just a fucking great fun, stupid lyrics about fucking like, you know, molesting corpses and just like there's a song called Female Fatal to the Flesh, Misanthropic Breed. The fucking title track is fucking great. I mean, it's like if you like Dismember, Rib Spreader, you know, Entombed AD, all that kind of shit. It's like to me, it's the quintessential modern Swedish death metal album right now. It's fucking amazing. And what's really cool about it is Metal Blade hooked them the fuck up, and they've got like a you know, it's gatefold, you know what I mean? It's just the whole artwork is fucking sick. And I want to say it's on this cool like smoky gray, you know, see-through vinyl. And they've got an album that came out before it in 2019, I believe, called Carnage, that just fucking rips. It's so goddamn good. And it's crazy because obviously the name Lik, you know, I believe it means death in Swedish or some shit. I don't know. I didn't look it up. But I saw them. It was kind of a suggestion on, you know, Spotify and Apple Music and stuff. And there's other bands to mention, like this band called Endseeker out of Germany. That's another kind of like, you know, Swedish death metal influenced band. All the fucking guitar solos remind me of fucking Squiskar Squigelf and Toki Wartooth, you know, like it's awesome. It goes for like ripping straight ahead fucking, you know, blackened thrash death with fucking like awesome, just, you know, dual guitar leads. It's just like, it's definitely OSDM, old school death metal, but it's just like, it's fucking great. And those are, I mean, that one really stood out, you know, to me. And there's another band called Demonical. It's another really great fucking, you know, chainsaw type, you know, OSDM kind of band and shit. And, you know, bands like Rib Spreader has Rogo Johansson, who is like a guitar player and vocalist for Paganizer, Rib Spreader, even his solo stuff. And I think he might have done some stuff with Down Among the Dead Man, which has the old singer from Bolt Thrower, David Ingram. But not to get on a whole tangent about old school death metal or whatever, but Lick, Misanthropic Breed, that was one of the 3 albums that fucking stood out in 2020. It's just great.
I check those guys out from time to time. It hasn't grabbed me yet. But then again, I'm not a death metal guy.
Right.
Old school to current, it never really, latches on to me. The closest I get is like mid-era Cannibal Corpse.
Sure.
And that's, kind of superficial. You know what I mean? Like it's just never been my thing. But
yeah,
every time I do listen to those guys, it's easy to recognize that, they're good. They're really fucking good. When I think of them, like I could always picture them playing a show with like Carcass and like Worm Witch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
Worm Witch, definitely.
They would, because there's to me, every time I listen to them, they're just like a crossover element, I
love that. Yeah.
Because, just this, I get the slightest, twinge of it every now and then because it does sound like Entombed, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it does sound like Death every now and then.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? But it also, but also they have that mega, just stupid, crunchy, Alex Webster bass tone, but
yeah,
they're really, really, really good. And that's coming from me. And I'm not a death metal guy. I'm just not into it.
Well, the thing I really love about like that kind of like the Swedish death metal thing is, Entombed and Dismember and Enslaved, and to a lesser degree, I guess, Grave. They sort of started the death and roll thing, where it was death metal, but they had like fucking straight up like wah wah solo, like Crybaby Wah, Kirk Hammett type guitar solos,
sure,
slide guitar, harmonica. You know what I mean? In stuff like that, to where it was just like they definitely wore their influences of early Kiss and Motorhead, and Venom, and stuff like that on their sleeve. And I loved how a lot of those Swedish death metal bands infused that, like The Crown, for example, Death Race King, and the one with the 13 on it. Anyway, The Crown is another great band. They're not quite like the fucking like maxed out, buzzsaw chainsaw type shit. But they're another great Swedish death metal band that had a definite like rock and roll like vibe in their guitar interplay, and the songs were very verse chorus with strong choruses, and even number time even number time signatures in their songs. You know what I mean? It was just and to me, being a big Kiss fan and a punk rock kid and a fan of crossover thrash, I like having catchy elements to my death metal.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's why I kind of like lost my flavor for death after the first 3 Death albums, because it was just kind of like
Chuck just kept getting more and more and more technically proficient at what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like, do you draw? Because I mean, everybody always thinks of At the Gates. When you start talking about the Swedish scene, everybody brings up At the Gates. But I don't. Like, I think those guys sound more like Entombed than they do At the Gates to me.
Oh, you're talking about Lick?
Yeah.
Okay. So you listen to the album Slaughter of the Soul, right?
Yeah.
Like Slaughter of the Soul sounds a lot like this Misanthropic Breed album, right? And I definitely see that. I think the only real thing that kind of really makes Lick sound like Entombed is their excessive use of the HM2 heavy metal pedal. That chainsaw sound, right? And I definitely, because my thing about At the Gates is when they put out Slaughter of the Soul, that was the only album that they have that sounds like that, right? Their album before that is kind of like they're getting there, and then the albums before that is like they were kind of like, well, do we want to be black metal or do we want to be like avant-garde death metal? So it was kind of weird. So I'm not really a fan of the early stuff. And then when they put out their big reunion album in like 2014 or 15 or whatever, I liked it, but to me it didn't sound like At the Gates. It was like it had more. But
there's too big of a gap between that and the one that came earlier. It's hard to cover that chasm. That is a massive amount of ground to cover, and it's difficult. It's like it'd be like if you only listened to Master of Puppets, and then the next thing that came out was Reload.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck just happened? You know, because you can, if you listen to Injustice for All and then the Black Album and then Load, you see Reload coming. You know, it's I mean it's a shitty comparison, but you know.
But the thing of it is though is to Drink from the Night itself, their most recent album that At the Gates put out, it's kind of like they've broken away from the chainsaw guitar sound and the kind of like the bordering on death and roll kind of vibe that Slaughter the Soul had, and they've kind of become their own thing. It's a great fucking album, and like they're recording another album too. I love the band. I love their whole catalog. Not a huge fan of the early stuff because they went through a lot of lineup changes and didn't really have a sound yet. But to me, I thought it was really cool how they didn't try to sound exactly like Slaughter the Soul when they reunited. And Thomas Lindbergh has done so much, everything from Lock Up to Dysphere to fucking like name it. I mean, all kinds of stuff. The Great Unraveling. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, but he's dipped his toes in the hardcore world with doing stuff on Death Wish Records, like him and Jake Bannon from Converge and the guitar player from Converge that runs God City Studios. Anyway, they've done a lot of stuff together. And the great thing, Kurt Ballow. The great thing about Death Wish is there's a Converge split with Entomb, for fuck's sakes. There's a Converge split with I think it's like, I want to say they put out a thing with they've taken a lot of classic death metal bands and worked with them on Death Wish. And me being a hardcore kid, that's how I got into the Swedish death metal, was through that doorway.
It's so strange because the current state of hardcore is more akin to old school death metal than it is anything else. At least in my opinion, but I'm not a hardcore guy either. But
yeah,
like I don't know where the fuck we're going with hardcore now. Like I All right, so last one. I'll give a quick honorable mention to the Wraith and their album Gloom Ballet. That came out at the end of 2019, but the push behind it happened mostly in 2020. So
a lot of albums actually got more of a push in 2020 than.
I think there's some bands out there where the sort of the shutdown might have helped them as far as like notoriety and visibility, because people weren't doing anything, so they're at home just looking for music, that sort of thing. So I did an episode of Vinyl Thursday on Gloom Ballet, and then I interviewed Davey from the Wraith, the singer of the band, the singer lyricist. Great dude. Great dude. I've had a lot of like just little bullshit and back and forth on Instagram with him. He's just a good dude. And I would say Kaz, their guitar player too. Kaz is top notch. Dude is absolutely top notch. So go check out the Wraith. All right, my number one. Eclise.
A what?
Eclise. I think that's how you say it, right? It's AKHLYS, and their album Milinai, and that's there's a lot of Greek flowing around, Greek stuff flowing around the band. The name of the band, Ecclese, it's like the death fog that comes along with the underworld goddess, the Greek underworld goddess. She sort of presided over nightmares and stuff. So that's where the name of the band came from. But this album, Milinai, that's the ancient pronunciation, by the way. I tapped a friend who can speak Greek
that's awesome
to be able to get it. But it's on Bandcamp. Obviously, I got my my physical copy came last week, I think, and I had ordered it, I think, like in November. So European shipping is completely outrageous right now. But Carter, this album, I don't know that I can articulate it.
Are they black metal or
yes.
what? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's yes, it's black metal. It's got twinges of second wave, but it's also got a lot of elements of ambient that was more developed toward the end of the second wave and sort of picked up by some of those later bands. Everybody knows I'm a Clive Barker fan. I'm a huge Hellraiser fan. Of the Hellbound Heart, the novella that became Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser movie, part 2, the second movie, and especially Clive Barker's Scarlet Gospels. That's the book that he wrote that sort of wrapped up everything surrounding Pinhead. I'm a huge Clive Barker fan, and I am telling you, man, this album, Milinahi, this could be the soundtrack to Hellraiser.
I gotta hear that. I haven't heard it yet.
This is the best album of 2020. No contest. Absolutely no contest. It's sinister. It's evil. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it just exudes something sort of insidious. It is so cram-packed with that black metal atmosphere that you don't always get with a lot of even great black metal bands. But this thing dropped my jaw. Absolutely dropped my jaw the first time I listened to it. And I've just been mainlining it since. It is hands down, I would say one of the best black metal albums to be released in the last 25 years.
You probably sent me the link to this a while ago, but send it again because that sounds really good.
Yeah.
What would you? You're gonna post a recommended song from this album, correct?
Carter, I'm at a loss for words at how good this album is.
Dude, you've got me intrigued. You fucking have me intrigued because I'm just wondering how that slid under my nose though. So that's a good fucking place to end because if it's that good, we should talk about it again.
Dude,
on the next one.
The sort of the brain behind this is a guy named Nas Alchemist.
Okay.
He's from the States.
Are they a Greek band? Are they? Because there's a really good.
No. He's just really focusing on Greek.
Okay.
Mythology and Greek lore, specifically the real nasty, ugly, kind of evil side of things.
Okay. Wow.
But it's there's an album, The Dreaming, that came out in 2015, and I got a kind of like a Music the Lifeblood acquaintance, somebody that's kind of I did an interview with, years ago. He's a black metal connoisseur, and I sent him the link when the new album came out on Bandcamp, and I was like, this is really good. And he said, check out The Dreaming before that. It's even better. But
damn,
it's out on Debamure Morty Productions. It's a European label, distro, whatever.
Okay.
And the label itself, the roster of releases they have on there is really, really, really good, impressive. But the atmosphere in this, the way the tracking order, the sort of the journey that it takes you on. I always think of what is it, Black Crown Syndicate?
Initiate.
Sorry.
Yeah. Their new album came out too, by the way. We'll talk about that down the road.
But those guys, Black Crown Initiate,
mm-hmm.
they take you on a journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to the music that they release, and I would say this album, Mili Nahi, it has that quality to it as far as a journey element is, because it does tell a story. When you dive into the lyrics, you look through the booklet, that sort of thing, it takes you on a journey. But at the same time, because of the way this music is created, it might have been just the mood I was in at the time, but like some intense sort of introspection. You can get lost in this album, which makes it even more impressive. Now, the thing with music for audiophiles and Uber fans like you and I are, some people listen to music to escape the mundane, and sometimes people listen to music to escape the chaotic. So it does different things to different people. And for me, every single fucking time I've listened to this album, it is just this overwhelming foreboding sense of doom. when it puts me in that kind of mood. So an album that's having that heavy-handed of an emotional impact on me, I know something's going on with it.
Okay.
I need to pay attention to it, and I've just been mainlining it the last month or whatever it's been. And this is as important of a black metal release as The Return by Bathory.
Ooh.
This is a tentpole album for black metal.
Okay, I gotta hear it then. I don't know how it escaped my fucking, yeah.
Like Quantos Passant ad Satanitatum Trahund by Gorgoroth. It's as important as that. It's as important as Chimera is for Mayhem. Just the overall pushing forward of the genre. Okay. And I think what's so damn interesting about it is, like, this dude is here in the States. He's here in the United States. And for him to have that tight of a grip on how to make black metal work correctly, because half of black metal is the music, the other half is the atmosphere that goes along with it. Those are key to being able to make black metal work the way that it's supposed to. And the album has it in spades. This is a Crack the Sky by Mastodon level of an album.
Cool. Yeah. On that note, I have to pee so fucking bad, dude. But dude, fucking this has been a really fucking good episode, man. I'm glad we're back doing it. I know that we both had shit going on, and it is what it is. But just let you guys know, we're going to be back to regular rotation in 2021.
Yeah, everything has kind of stabilized. So I think the year 2020 was terrible for everybody. I think I don't think there's a person on the earth that was like, yeah, it was great, let's do it again.
Unless you're a fucking hermit with like every amenity and every fucking luxury that I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Fuck it. I mean, and I'm not gonna be able to go, fuck 2020. I mean, there was some really awesome things for me that happened in it. And then there was some kind of like, it wasn't really like, oh shit. It was more like what the fuck. It was more of a what the fuck than a huge letdown, because I always take a what the fuck and turn it into something, that's positive. I don't ever really let it fucking go, oh, well, this happened. Sure. Now I'm screwed forever. Like, no, It was what the fuck. How do I keep going, around this? So, but yeah, man,
I'm hoping that all those bands that we love, they were able to write some music, and we're going to get just a deluge of new stuff in 2021. So I think, I have got to see Ecclese. I have got to see this band. Like, I have to go see them.
Cool. It's good. So they're a full band, not just one dude and fucking a bunch of hired hands.
Well, I think it's a dude. I think it's a dude that writes everything, writes the songs, guitar, bass, whatever.
Gotcha.
And on the album, I think there's a drummer credited, so I think he's got a drummer with him.
Cool.
But if this is what 2021 has in store, I'm all about it. I just want to go see Ecclese. I want to go see this band now.
Sounds good.
that's where I'm at with 2021. So
Cool.
all right, there's our top 3 plus honorable mentions. So like Carter said, yeah, Conversations from the Pit is going to come at more of a regular clip than what it has in the past. That's one of my goals for this year. I literally wrote it on my New Year's resolutions. So I like these deep dives that Carter and I get to do because both of us, we have just a slightly different perspective, and it's one of the most enriching sort of interactions that I have. Not only Music the Lifeblood related, but on a personal level too. So yeah, I hope, hopefully everything moves in a way that we can keep doing these on a regular clip. So there you go. All right, guys, that's it. Music the Lifeblood. It's something old.
Something new.
What are you listening to? Blick Metal.
Believe it or
Blick Metal.